flexible working now. Since 2014, UK employers have had the right to ask for it, and that can include cutting down hours, working from home or job sharing.
But less than half of parents feel flexible working is an option for them. It's according to the charity Working Families, who's calling on the government to do more to help parents achieve that work-life balance. Our Consumer Affairs correspondent Nina Warhurst has more.
Should our jobs work around our families, or should our families be built around our jobs?
There you go, now we'll go with the red.
For Katie, the crunch came when she had Pippa. In her global marketing role, there wasn't an option to go part-time and stay in Glasgow. And after 12 years with the same company, she took redundancy.
It is hard because you have given an awful lot of who you are to that one job, and then suddenly you're out of that, almost cast out, not intentionally. It's difficult to know who you are, where are you going next, what do I do now?
Katie's now set up a craft shop and she loves it, but can't help wondering what might have been. Since 2014, if you've worked somewhere for more than 6 months, you've been entitled to ask for flexible working. So that might be fewer hours, maybe working from home or perhaps a job share. But your employer's been allowed to say no if they found it's detrimental to their business. And that, combined with a slow cultural shift in some places, means not everybody feels it's working for them. More than half of parents surveyed felt flexible working isn't a genuine option for them. Nearly 2 in 5 said their current hours mean they don't get to say goodnight to their kids. And more than 13% said they're working the equivalent hours of an extra day a week just to get their job done.
Do you know what time that meeting's going to finish at?
But things are changing, for some at least. With 5 kids, John needs a job that works for him, and he's found it. He starts at 9:30 every day and doesn't work school holidays. Does that mean things are nice and calm at home?
I wouldn't say that, but with 5 kids. Things would never be calm, however, it is a lot less stressful.
Less stressful for staff, and the boss says better for business. Since expanding flexible working, productivity's gone up by 30%.
And what we've found is there's a lot of mothers and fathers at home who have got great skills and capabilities, but little or no access to childcare, or is too expensive, and they've just never thought of asking for term time working.
And this way they can do both.
This way they can do both, best of both worlds.
The government told us we want parents to have choices, and 20 million people can now ask for flexible working. But we recognise that the current labour market isn't working fairly for everyone, which is why we're reviewing modern working practices. Katie says getting to pick Noah and Pippa up every day is the best job she's ever had. But she hopes that if they become parents, it won't come at the cost of compromising their careers.
Nina's with us now. Nina, I know this is something that people really do engage with, because this doesn't work for everyone. The option's there, but it doesn't work for everyone.
No, breakfast TV, for example, does not work at lunchtime, does it?
If only.
If only. But we've had messages from a viewer actually said, how could a bricklayer, how could an engineer, somebody who works in building, for example, choose their hours? It just doesn't work that way. And the Federation of Small Businesses said to us, things like restaurants and care homes, they have to have certain hours covered around the clock. And also some small companies, if their margins are tight and they have to make a big HR adjustment, it can be expensive. But there's lots of evidence that shows it does pay off for the company. So Lorraine's company, who we saw there, when she got all her staff to work 5 days in 4, overall productivity went up because people wanted to protect that day off. And what this report is asking for is for flexible working to become the normal. So we're not judged on how many hours we sat at our desk, but the products that we make, so how good it is and the volume of it.
And what about that moment when you make the decision to speak to your boss for the first time and say, I'm interested? People are concerned about what message that's sending out. Wrongly, yes. They're entitled to ask, and it's perfectly acceptable. But I think the reality is that some people will be worried about just even going there.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting, having spoken to lots of parents about this. It's cultural. Lots of people say it's just not the done thing where we work. So it takes that pioneer to raise that conversation with a boss and be the first to say, how can we deal with it? And that can be tricky. So some of the advice is to maybe get together with colleagues and work together on that and change the attitude of raised eyebrows if somebody leaves a little bit early, but also to know your rights. You have to have been with your company for more than 6 months as a member of staff in order to be able to raise the conversation. But then the the onus is on your employer, not you. They have to prove it's detrimental for business. And if they say no, they have to give you an opportunity to appeal. So more people need to go for it.
You can see, though, why small businesses find this really difficult. I know you touched upon this, but you can't you? Just because they've got enough to think about in terms of margins and employment issues and rising production costs as well as this.
Yeah, but actually, it's the HR expense initially that can cause a lot of grief, and them not knowing where they're up to in terms of structuring rotas, for example. But the small companies we've spoken to in the Federation of Small Businesses have said when they've tried it, it's paid off in the long run. But you're absolutely right, for some companies, that initial outlay can be really, really tricky. But again, it's about starting that conversation.
Nina, thanks very much.
Thank you.